sunscreen because they don't belong here. They must go back to their country where there is no sun.
This country is ours. Africa is ours.
This is South Africa in 2017.
All land in South Africa, all of it belongs to us and all of it was stolen from us.
The British PR firm Bell Pottinger stands accused of fomenting racial tensions through their work for the controversial Gupta family. But was the issue of economic apartheid manufactured by Bell Pottinger for a campaign?
You know, like any good propaganda, it needs to contain a kernel of truth.
So, is economic apartheid a reality? Well, the gap between rich and poor is wider in South Africa than almost anywhere else in the world, and they have some of the worst educational standards, making it even harder for the poor to improve their lot. In the townships, the disparity is obvious.
Hello.
Hello.
What's your name?
Precious.
Precious. What do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a doctor.
Is this your daughter? She says she wants to be a doctor.
Yeah, it's great.
Are you working?
No, I'm not working.
Are there any jobs here?
No, there's nothing. And we've been applying, no answers.
How long have you been out of work?
5 years now.
5 years?
Yes.
And out of your neighbours here in Soweto and people in your family, how many people are like you as struggling to find jobs?
There's so many people applying, there's no answers, no job.
Do you think it'll be different by the time your daughter grows up? Do you think she can be a doctor?
Maybe.
What needs to change?
Maybe if we can get a new president, maybe we can see the change.
Here in Soweto, some parts of the township have effectively become a tourist industry. So as you walk along the road, there are stalls set out selling souvenirs, bright clothes, jewellery. But there's no real model for economic growth. And a lot of the people here still don't have jobs or any prospect of getting them. Hi. How easy is it to get jobs in Soweto now?
Hey, it's really hard, mommy. As you can see, us, we are not working, but we're hustling.
Many of us go to school, but we end up in the streets. It's even worse now that our people are in charge, you see.
Why is that?
Me, personally, I think maybe it was better off in apartheid days, you see, because people used to get jobs.
It's really surprising for me to be standing here in the middle of Soweto, you know, very close to where Nelson Mandela lived, and hear people saying it was better under apartheid.
Yeah, I can still say that it was better off, you see, because now the government, they only think for themselves and their families only, you see. The corruption rate is high, everything is high, because back then there were better decisions. I don't say whites are better than black, I'm just saying their government was doing better before.
These are exactly the people a campaign on economic apartheid should aim to help. But the allegation is that Bell Pottinger was running a campaign that shifted the spotlight onto white business leaders and away from President Zuma's leadership.
President Zuma doesn't do any right for us or for our country. They're eating a lot of money, billions, almost to trillions, and we're suffering a lot, we're suffering.
I'll say President Zuma needs to step down.
Who would you all support?
EFF.
EFF.
Zuma is the one who must withdraw. You are withdrawing a wrong person.
The EFF, or Economic Freedom Fighters, are a revolutionary, militant socialist party led by the firebrand politician Julius Malema. They've become the third biggest party in South Africa, and their members arrive in Parliament wearing matching red jumpsuits in solidarity with the labourers of the country.
Just signing in here at the headquarters of the EFF, and it asks for full name, date, company, reason for visit, firearm, yes or no. I think I might be a little bit blander than their average guest.
Julius Malema has spent years talking about white monopoly capital and the economic challenges facing the country. So how does he view the campaign by Bell Pottinger?
Well, they vulgarized the whole point. They just wanted to find something to hide their corruption. And they used it in a manner that causes unnecessary divisions. Because if you use it for opportunistic reasons to hide corruption of blacks, and you say, no, black corruption is not a problem, the problem is white monopoly capital, that's absolute nonsense, which we're not going to accept. The corruption of the Guptas, helped by Bell Pottinger, must be exposed, it must be dealt with. But it doesn't mean white monopoly capital is not a problem. It is a problem.
But do you worry, and we saw it a bit with the Bell Pottinger campaign and what they were doing, do you worry that by talking about white monopoly capital and making it the issue, it might stir up the sort of anger which goes against the spirit of reconciliation?
No, to speak about reality, it is actually going to help us. When you deal with issues in a more genuine way, you seek to resolve these imbalances, it will not cause problems. Unlike how Bell Pottinger was using it. They were using it not in a genuine way, not to resolve inequalities, but they were using it to conceal crime. And that is divisive. It all depends on how you carry out your message. We've been saying this. It has never caused divisions in the country. People have known and accepted that there is a certain phenomenon that we're seeking to deal with.
That's really the crux. Inequality and economic apartheid are very real. But the campaign, run by Bell Pottinger, didn't target the problems which are holding back the very poorest in the townships, like poor standards of education or a lack of access to the jobs market. Instead, it railed against the banking system after all four of the big banks in South Africa refused to give the Guptas an account. The Guptas and President Zuma have denied any involvement in corruption, and the chief executive of Bell Pottinger, James Henderson, told me he refuted Julius Malema's claims too.
There was certainly no intention of collaborating with corruption. We were trying to do a good job for a client in managing their reputation and defending them from a number of accusations, some of which were within the political arena.
Whatever the reasons behind the campaign, it's had a very real effect on the lives of ordinary South Africans.
You could feel the systemic tension emerging. I mean, at one point I said to a colleague of mine, as they say, a son of the ANC, felt uncomfortable. So I can't imagine how ordinary white people began to feel. So their campaign was working because it was fostering a sense of anger, a sense of resentment, everything that Mandela, the stalwarts of our liberation struggle, were fighting against.
Nicholas Wolpe is a white South African whose father fought to end apartheid and whose uncle was on trial with Nelson Mandela. He now runs Lily's Leaf Farm, a memorial to the anti-apartheid movement.
What Bell Pottinger did, by coming in and taking something that is so sensitive, which is a political dynamite, and utilized it for personal exploitation and gain. They have managed to inculcate into our vocabulary a terminology which is cancerous, and we're now battling that. The ANC in every single document, historical document you read, says South Africa cannot fulfill its full potential unless it creates a non-racial society where all South Africans participate. And Bell Pottinger has come in and stuck a knife into the heart of that very ethos and fabric by exploiting something that is extremely sensitive, and they have been malicious.
Bell Pottinger has apologised now, and I think they've sacked one of the people who was involved with the account, and they've suspended a few more. Are you happy with that? Has that helped?
That's tokenism. You can't suddenly, once the horses bolted, suddenly close the stable door and then find a few sacrificial lambs and say they behaved on their own, they were rogue PR publicists who had no mandate to do what they did. Bell Pottinger as a company, must take responsibility for the damage that they have caused in this country. Damage that undermined our struggle and what so many people sacrificed for. If they had any appreciation for what Nelson stood for, they would not have agreed to do what they were asked to do. Money would not have come into it. If there was any moral fiber in the leadership of Bell Pottinger, they would have said, this is not acceptable.
So what would you like to see Bell Pottinger do?
Bell Pottinger should be put out of business for immoral business ethics, for the pain and suffering that has been caused by their immoral campaign. I definitely think the British government should take steps.
Not only do the Guptas and President Zuma deny these allegations, but the chief executive of Bell Pottinger, James Henderson, says his company's actions in South Africa have been misunderstood.
At worst, we were very naive in what we got involved with, but there was no, at any point, intention to create the impact that's claimed that we've been created. We went out predominantly with a corporate campaign trying to handle an issue in a responsible way, and I believe that that will come out. However, I believe there was naivety and that we were involved in a very political situation, and we've allowed ourselves to become the story, but the actions we've been accused of, in time, I hope it'll come out that we did not do that. And we have been called guilty before any real evidence has been shown of what we did do. We clearly take huge concern at this, which is why we commissioned a Herbert Smith report to look into every aspect, every email, every document that was produced. The proposals I saw on this issue looked corporate responsible proposals. They did not fuel racial tension or have any intention of doing so.